A report has come out that the Blue Jays are going to be targeting third baseman Alex Bregman in free agency this year, and we've been clamoring for it on this channel. And it's a move that makes a lot of sense for the Blue Jays and could help solve a lot of their problems. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. Welcome everybody to Jays Digest. I'm your host Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And Nick, we've been asking for this for a very long time now. At least I have. I don't know how you feel about the whole Alex Bregman situation, but we know that the Jays are going to be in on Juan Soto and they're going to pursue him heavily. But what the thing that we have been saying was that there needs to be a plan B in place, a plan C, maybe even a plan D. And right now, it seems like Alex Bregman could be their plan B, and they're ready to throw a bag at him. He's a World Series winner. He is a guy who has been one of the more consistent performers at third base, and that is one of the big holes that the Blue Jays have heading into next season. Apart from their bullpen, of course, the offense could need a little bit of a jolt, and adding Alex Bregman, a World Series winner, a guy who has been in MVP conversation before, that could help solve a lot of their issues and maybe a little bit more cost effective as well going forward.
Yeah, and obviously you've been big on the Alex Bregman train. They know, or we know, that the Jays are pursuing Juan Soto, but if they strike out on him, unlike last year with Shohei Ohtani, they need to have a backup plan, like you said. And Bregman would be a very suitable one. And I'm also of the mindset, if they don't get, or even if they do get Juan Soto, still make a run for a guy like Alex Bregman. But the Blue Jays target Alex Bregman as free agent solution at third base. And obviously, Peter, I'll get your thoughts on this, but basically it goes on to say that the Toronto Blue Jays are eyeing Houston Astros third baseman Alex Bregman, as they seek to fill the void left by Matt Chapman last season. And of course, we know the Jays had a bunch of different temporary solutions, whether that's IKF, whether that's some of the prospects they have coming up now. But Peter, when you look at Alex Bregman's stats this season, they're solid. He has an OPS plus of 112. He's approaching 31 years old and will be 31 years old by the time he enters his season or around there with the Blue Jays. But what are your thoughts on this player? Obviously, again, we know that the Jays' current outlook for third base is unknown. We're not entirely sure what they're going to do at third base, especially if they strike out on Alex Bregman. There are some prospects, even guys like Aurelvis Martinez, who are mashing now at AAA now that he's returned from his suspension. But I think if you're trying to win, especially next season and beyond, getting a guy like Alex Bregman for 2 or 3 more years of his hopefully prime self would be very solid. Even though he's having a tiny bit of a down year this year, he's still an elite player and a proven winner as well.
Yeah, he is a proven winner, and a lot of Jays fans may be hesitant because we're seeing what's happening with George Springer right now, where it was the same exact situation. MVP caliber player for a few years in Houston, turns 30, 31 years old, comes to the Blue Jays, gives you a couple of great years, but now you're kind of fighting it at the end of his contract. And you have to justify paying him over $20 million a year. So he's playing every single day. I'm not saying there are better options internally right now than George Springer, but maybe that's kept them away from some options on the free agent market or on the trade market because they know that they have this albatross of a contract that they have to play every single day in right field. Now, nothing against George Springer. He got his money and he was a great player for the first couple of years of that Blue Jays contract. But now the Jays are in a bit of a sticky spot. So for that reason, maybe they'll be kind of shying away from Alex Bregman, although I think it could age a little bit differently because Bregman is slightly less injury prone than George Springer, plays a less physically demanding position at third base as opposed to where Springer was in center field when he first came over. So look, there are some differences here, but I could see why Jays fans would not be so quick to line up and get Bregman. And don't get me started on the whole cheating thing that went down a few years ago. Fans are not so quick to forgive, but I would take Bregman in a heartbeat. Maybe you won't have 6 great years of production from him, but you could probably have 2 or 3, and that allows you to be very competitive going into next season, I believe. So I think it's the right move depending on where your priorities are for the Blue Jays. They said they want to compete in 2025. I don't know if that's necessarily possible, but if they're truly hell bent on doing that, then getting Alex Bregman would definitely help out with that. But if they're just saying that just to say that and make no moves, then they're not going to be competitive. So if they do want to get better and make strides in 2025, they need to take a risk like this and bring in a veteran guy who is going to help solve a lot of long-standing issues with this team.
And we've discussed before that this season, or this upcoming offseason, is make or break for the Toronto Blue Jays for a few reasons. Obviously, we have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who needs to be extended. You have Bichette, who got injured again yesterday before the game. Hopefully, this one isn't as severe as some of his other injuries. He should be fine. He's not going to be playing tonight as a result. But you have to extend at least Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at the very least. But when you're looking at who else the Jays can target, they need to add to the bullpen. They need to add probably another starting pitcher, depending on how confident they are in Bowden Francis and some of the other guys. Bowden had another great start yesterday. They need to add another one or two hitters. So it's like they have so many things they need to do. And they do have an improved prospect pool. But when you're looking at how the Jays stack up heading into next year, they need to make some sort of, whether it's a trade, whether it's a big sign, like multiple things need to happen. The bullpen's awful right now. One of the worst, if not, it's been the worst in baseball.
It's the worst.
Minus three
Yeah.
F WAR this season. And I think 29th was a .1. So they've been far and beyond the worst bullpen in baseball. The hitting hasn't been good. So the prospects, there are some good things there. Addison Barger looks like he's starting to come together. A great defensive play yesterday. Spencer Horwitz as well. But there's so many holes that obviously Alex Bregman would be great, but I feel like the worry here is that will they want to prioritize filling all these other holes first instead of getting a guy like Bregman, even though Bregman fills one of the major holes they have, which is a lack of power, in the infield, aside from Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Right. Now, another thing is if you bring in a guy like Alex Bregman, it's kind of creating another logjam situation at third base where you have, I wouldn't say like a plethora of major league ready prospects, but as you mentioned, Elvis Martinez earlier in the video, that he's a name to watch. I don't think he's going to be a third baseman at the next level because his defense isn't really up to par, but he's someone that can play there, as is Addison Barger, as is maybe Will Wagner in a pinch. Like who knows? You have a lot of infielders that have filled in at that position this season, and getting Bregman solves a lot of those issues. Like you know that he's going to be there, and he's going to probably play 150 to 155 games for you in a season, but then in the years after that, when you're paying him 20, maybe $25 million, and you have prospects waiting, they're being blocked by 35-year-old Alex Bregman, So it doesn't come without its fair share of issues. But as I mentioned, if you want to compete next year, I think getting Bregman gives you the best chance to do that. And considering the way the market goes, maybe he does take a shorter deal as well. Like who knows? We saw Matt Chapman do that last offseason with the San Francisco Giants. We saw a lot of players wait till the actual season started or spring training started to sign those deals. So who knows how it's going to unfold? Who knows what he wants? Maybe he wants to regain his value and prove himself yet again so he can hit free agency after a down season. I don't know. I don't know what his priorities are. I'm not privy to that kind of information, but there's no doubt that if the Blue Jays get Alex Bregman, they're going to be a better ball club in 2025. But after that, it's still a lot of question marks that need to be answered.
Yeah, and the biggest question mark is going to be what the contract looks like for him, because if it's a super long deal, I'm not sure the Jays want to go down that path again unless it's for a guy like Juan Soto. Shohei Ohtani's one of the big players. But let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. Do you want to see Alex Bregman on the Toronto Blue Jays, or would you prefer they stick with some of their internal options? Most notably, probably Elvis Martinez, even though who knows if he can stick at third base going forward with the defensive woes and him returning from his suspension. But let us know. We'll see you guys soon.